Hello, good afternoon and welcome to my channel. Welcome to the Costa del Sol in Spain. I hope you're well wherever you are. I thought I'd make a little bit of a different video today, and it will be a short one on the topic of homesickness. And the reason I'm making a short video is I'm actually working on a bigger project that's going to reflect on my first 2 years of making YouTube videos, so that's taking much longer than I thought. So I thought rather than just waiting for a whole month before making another video, I would give you a quick update. And I thought to myself, well, what can I talk about? And where shall I make this video? And I thought, well, homesickness was the first thing that came to my mind, so I'll cover that. And where shall I make it? Well, I've decided to do it on my balcony because, like much of Europe, it's been way too hot to go out for a walk like I normally do to make this video. So yeah, hope you find something interesting in this. I don't yet know where I'm going to go with it, but let's give it a try, as I always do. Okay, so we've been here now for about 10 weeks, and therefore it is far too early to say whether or not the homesickness that we sometimes feel is going to be a serious problem and is going to lead to us having to make another big change in our lives. But I do take it quite seriously, especially as it's something that affects not just me but my wife as well. And so where shall I begin? I mean, I think the first thing to say is that homesickness obviously is not just about a house, or maybe not even just about a place. It's about all that goes with that chapter in your life. If it were just about a place or a house, then I would be feeling over the moon with where we are now, because this is possibly the nicest place I've ever lived. I'm not sure whether you can see, if I just show behind, that's the view from our balcony. And I feel very blessed to be living here, and I enjoy sitting out on this balcony, reading my books and doing my Wordle and chatting to my wife and eating our meals. And in many respects it is all I've ever dreamed of, or at least all I've ever dreamed of for a very long time. And let me just make sure this is working okay. And so I started reflecting on, well, what is homesickness then, if it's not about a town or a house? And I thought, well, maybe it's all about things like routines and language and customs and familiar faces and friends and family, and maybe even a version of yourself that used to exist in the previous chapter of your life. So for example, when I was living in Devon, I used to be a volunteer at a library, and that gave me a sense of purpose. I was also part of the Teignmouth Writers Group, and I would join them on a regular basis. I was part of the Southwest Speakers Group, where we would meet up in Exeter for a couple of evenings each month. And these things, even though they were quite small, were an important part of my life, important part of my routine, and even an important part of my identity. And when I moved to Spain, I gave all that up. So here I am now. I don't do anything other than spend time with my wife and working our way through all the things that need to be worked through when you first move to a new country. And strangely enough, I made a video maybe about a year ago that was at its heart about why I chose to live, or why we chose to live in Devon rather than in Portugal. And one of the reasons I gave was about my dislike of bureaucracy and the anxiety that I feel when I am battling with these difficult and slow bureaucratic processes, particularly when they're in another language and when you don't understand what the rules are, and you have unclear expectations about how quickly things should move. And so at the time I felt going back to England simplified all that for me and therefore reduced the anxiety that I felt. But actually I don't know whether it did. So I think being in England definitely simplified it an awful lot compared to our previous home in Germany, because of the language, because things are more digital, I think, in Britain. But I still did a lot of sort of worrying about, whether or not I'm filling in the tax forms correctly and whether or not I've sorted out my pensions properly and all this sort of thing. So there was still a lot of anxiety involved in all of this. But nevertheless, at the time, I felt I couldn't cope with living somewhere like Spain or Portugal because of the bureaucracy and because of my anxiety, and I felt that I was much better off in England where life was much simpler. And it's true that life was much simpler, but for me, I was a little bit bored in England. And if I'd stayed there longer, I think I would have put that right. But during those 18 months that we were living there, I was quite bored and struggling with my mental health because of that. Now that I'm here in Spain, I'm dealing with more bureaucracy than I've ever dealt with in my whole life. It is quite astonishing how much paperwork I'm having to deal with, and how complicated some of the processes are for us as immigrants, particularly as one of us is not an EU citizen. But rather than getting all anxious and depressed about it, it's actually given me a sense of purpose. It's been part of the challenge of living here. It has given me a sense of achievement. It's given me a sense of purpose as I have slowly made progress through this. And it has at times made me feel like I'm becoming more resilient, more resourceful, more determined. And therefore it is part of the growth journey that I'm on. And I like that. I like learning, and I like that feeling I get when I'm learning new skills, gaining new knowledge, learning about different cultures and so on. So rather than the bureaucracy causing me anxiety, it's actually given me a bit of a sense of purpose. However, obviously I need more than just that to to make myself feel happy here. And what I've noticed is my wife has gone in a very different direction to me. So I've gone from being fairly quiet in Devon with not much to do to being busy here with all the bureaucracy. My wife has gone from being very busy in Devon because she had a job, she volunteered, and through both of those activities she made lots of friends, because she was able to join lots of clubs and things because of the language. So she's gone from a very busy, meaningful life to one now where she's very lost and doesn't know what to do with herself during the day. And so I think homesickness has affected both of us, but it's affected us both in different ways. And we're probably both grieving something from our past, but not necessarily the same thing or to the same extent. But I find that interesting, and I am very hopeful that in the next few months, I don't like to put a timescale to it because you can't plan or predict these things, but I am hopeful that in the next few months that we will feel much better about our situation here. I would say it's been, up and down so far. There have been good days, very good days, and good weeks even. But there's been days when we've been a bit a bit down in the doldrums, And when I see my wife suffering, then I naturally have concern for her. So what I've done for next week, for example, is I've hired a car for a week. So we'll go off exploring. So that will give us something to look forward to, and I know we will enjoy that. I do think homesickness is a real thing, and I think it affects all of us in different ways, but I think all of us are affected by it. But for us, because we've lived in so many places, we're not sure exactly or precisely where it is we miss. Sometimes I miss Bonn in Germany, sometimes I miss Bewdley in Worcestershire, sometimes I miss Teignmouth in Devon. Sometimes I have dreams about all these places. Sometimes it's Stourport, sometimes it's Birmingham, sometimes it's Shoreham by Sea. I don't know, we sort of miss all sorts of different places, really. What I've realised is we can't simply go back to a place where we've previously lived and carry on where we left off. It's just not that simple. And probably some of what I'm feeling is not actually homesickness, it is confusion and a desire to find something that feels right for us. And it's not particularly a place, but it's a lifestyle, it's an identity, it's connection, and it is a feeling each day that day is going to be a great day. And I tried to tell myself that anyway. Yesterday I woke up feeling tired. I didn't sleep well. I think I'd stayed up too late watching the football. It was very hot, so I didn't sleep well. So I woke up feeling tired, and when I'm tired my mood drops. So I wasn't feeling great, but I said to myself, even though I'm feeling tired, this is going to be a great day. And, it was. There were many things that I could be grateful for on that day, small things like the fact that we were able to go swimming here in the pool, the fact we went out and bought ourselves a pair of goggles and I was able to improve my swimming by putting my head under the water as I swam. I was able to write a letter to the German Finanzamt about my tax return, and that was something that had been troubling me. We ate nice food, we went for a nice walk, we had a chat with one of our daughters on the phone, and so it might not have been the most special day in our lives, but I think going into it with that attitude that it's going to be a great day, and then reflecting on all the things I think went well that day, then I was really pleased, and I felt good in the evening. I felt content, felt like we'd achieved something, felt like I had lots to be pleased and thankful for. So but I think we need some more consistency about that, and some of that is about our own mentality, our own mindset, because we can make each day a good day. Okay, we will have setbacks, we will have bad days, but we can try at least to make each day a good day, and often they will be good days. In 10 years' time, I'm pretty sure we will look back at this moment and think, how lucky were we to be living that life? How lucky were we to be as healthy as we were, as happy as we were, to have been doing something as adventurous and exciting as what we're doing now? How lucky were we to have fulfilled our dream of living by the Mediterranean Sea? So in 10 years' time, we will be really grateful for this, and we will miss it. So therefore, whilst we're here now, we should make the most of it. We really should. And maybe that gives a bit more perspective to our situation as well. And then I remind myself as well that, you know, if this doesn't work out, if we decide the homesickness is too big a deal and we can't deal with this and we want to go back to England or wherever, then I don't think it will have been a disaster. We will have had a year here, we will have tried it, we will have made some special memories, we will have learnt lots of things, we will have grown as individuals, we will have some wonderful memories to look back on. And so it's fine, you know, there's no shame in going back in 1 year's time to where we came from. So we don't need, or I don't need to get all anxious and worried about this. I mean, honestly, there's the odd little moment, it doesn't last long, but there's the odd little moment when I almost panic, when I think, oh God, what have we done? Why, this isn't working. We should go back where everything was nice and cosy. But of course, there's no need to. We can be relaxed, and 99% of the time I am very relaxed out here, and my wife is too, and you know, we're loving life. But when I think about it, you know, for the last 10 years or more, I've been pondering over where I belong and, you know, where's my place in the world. And I've done all sorts of things to try and counter that, you know, like writing my book and making these videos and moving around and going on scouting missions to different parts of Europe, looking for somewhere where we might like to live. So we've tried all sorts of things. But I've come to the conclusion we're just on a journey. That's just our life. We're on a journey and we don't yet know where it's going to take us, but we should enjoy the ride. Don't get stressed about the uncertainty, and have some anchor points in your life, you know, some things that give you some islands of stability, as we used to say in project management. So, you know, there are some things that are relatively fixed and stable in our lives that we can attach ourselves to, and that give us a sense of belonging and grounding and give us some roots, you know. And they might not be physically present here right now. It might be a daughter in Berlin or a daughter in England, might be some friends in other parts of the world, might be some of the work and hobbies we have. It could be each other, as it's my wife and I. Could be faith, could be literature and television. You know, there are all sorts of things that help me feel connected to this world, but at the moment that's enough. That's enough. I feel like I've just had a little therapy session and I'm feeling a lot happier and a lot less homesick. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll release another video soon. Okay, thanks then. Bye.